Every once in a while you see statistics and you don't know what to do with them. And I know that I just saw, I guess yesterday, there was uh, it was one of the movers, I've forgotten which one, I think it may have been Hertz. And they were talking about where people had moved. And they based this based upon where their trucks were rented and where they went to. And so that's a pretty good indicator. And so they had figures for the US in terms of where most people had moved out of, where most people had moved into. I don't know how they did that study. I don't know if it was just sheer numbers or if it was like per capita or if it was percentage. They didn't really say. They just said that, hey, this is what it is. And some of that stuff is what we expected, some of it was not. But then they did a study on international, which that would not really apply to Hertz, I wouldn't think, unless Hertz does international moving. Perhaps they do, I don't know. But I looked at that and the figures didn't quite make sense to me. So let me give you a little background. So I'm actually a National Association of Realtors Global Coordinator for North America, Central America, and the Caribbean. So I am pretty in tune with a lot of international trends, and it said that one of the biggest places that Americans move to, it listed, I think, 5 or 10, and on that list were Canada, Colombia. There were, let's see, there were several, but Canada in particular stuck out to me. Because I looked at that and I thought, that doesn't really, I don't really get that. That doesn't make sense. Now, if you were thinking about it in general, you would think, well, yeah, of course, a lot of Americans might like to live in Canada. It's a close neighbor, pretty much everywhere except Quebec. They speak English. Culturally, they're quite similar. One of the things for some of the people who have been complaining about the U.S., who maybe have talked about leaving because they didn't like our current elections, is Canada is quite a bit more liberal than the United States. And so for people who are more on that, end of political beliefs, I could see where they might, really feel like that. But there's one thing that has happened in Canada. Canada, over the last few years, I think this is the third year, they have a ban against foreigners buying real estate. They created a problem in that they had so much immigration, and they needed the immigration because they were in a bad way demographically. They were, it looked like within a generation, they were going to be in serious, serious trouble. And so they did deliberately increase their immigration. But Canada, for as big as it is only 40 million people. And they brought in so many people. It is a big percentage of their population now. Now, whether you agree with that or not, that's not the thing. The problem that created is it created a tremendous housing shortage in Canada. And that led to triggering other events that because of the shortage, they ended up with home prices skyrocketing. And most of the people in Canada can't afford a home anymore. And it's compounded a little bit more because of the way that Canada does their financing. In the United States, you can get a 30-year fixed loan. And so when you get a low rate, you have that rate locked in sometimes for 30 years. There are other options, but that's a very typical thing. In Canada, it doesn't work that way. They will lock in a rate, but those rates adjust ever so often. And so even people who bought previously, as interest rates have gone up, it's created a housing crisis for people who'd already bought their homes. So because of this, to try to deal with that, Canada, about 3 years ago, they made it illegal for foreigners to buy real estate in Canada. Now, they do have some exceptions, but for the main part, you cannot buy real estate in Canada if you are not a Canadian citizen. So when they're telling me that all of these people from the US are moving to Canada, I really have to wonder, is that true? Is that accurate? Because it doesn't seem to jive. Now, I guess it's possible that all those people moving there are, maybe they're renting, maybe they're living in apartments, maybe they're renting homes. I don't know. But I can tell you that at least the majority of them aren't buying homes because it's not allowed. So that's just one of those things. It's just like, I don't know, man. I think that this is suspect. But I was just curious about that and thought I'd mention it. If you are unhappy with the U.S. and think, I would just really live somewhere else, Canada may not be an option for you right now. But there are other places. I mean, if that's something you wanted to talk about, I could tell you, we have a ton of people, probably more than anywhere else, people from the U.S. move to Mexico. I know a lot of people don't believe that, but it's true. Mexico is our #1 place. Also, Costa Rica, very, very nice place. There are people who move to Nicaragua and love it there. And Dominican Republic is so beautiful. And so there are lots of places, if that were something that somebody ever wanted to ask about. I know people really kind of all over the world, and I can probably get information for you just about anywhere. So anyway, I just thought I would comment on that. I am David McCoy, Otimo Properties, based here in Louisville, Kentucky. And I primarily do commercial real estate. Obviously, I also do global real estate. I do some residential, mainly as investment properties. If you got any questions about any of that stuff, reach out to me. I'm glad to help you if I can. So hope you all are having a great day, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care. Bye.